Let's talk about something that happens in, well, so many long-term relationships. It's this quiet, kind of unsettling feeling. The feeling that you're slowly becoming invisible to the one person who's supposed to see you more clearly than anyone else. I mean, have you ever felt that? It's such a weird feeling, isn't it? You're right there in the same room, but you might as well be a ghost. It's not about some big, dramatic fight. It's more like a slow fade. You just gradually blend into the background of the life you built together. And this quote, wow, it just nails it. You become like that constant, steady background music. And because you're always there, the active listening, that conscious act of really noticing, it just kind of stops. So this slow fade, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It kicks off a whole storm of questions inside your head. You know, the kind you're often too scared to even say out loud. Your mind just starts racing, right? You ask yourself, is the love gone? Was it something I did? Have we just grown apart? It's this really painful spiral of self-doubt. But what if the answer isn't what you think? What if this has less to do with your heart and a whole lot more to do with your brain? Okay, this is where we need to totally shift our perspective. We're going to move away from the purely emotional side of things and dive into some fascinating neuroscience. Because the real reason you might be feeling invisible, it might not be about a lack of love at all, but just how our brains are wired. See, it all comes down to this really powerful principle called the adaptation effect. This is the key, the scientific concept that explains why those super intense early relationship feelings, why they seem to naturally fade over time. So here it is, the neural adaptation effect. To put it simply, your brain is an efficiency machine. It's lazy in the best way possible. When it sees the same thing over and over again, whether that's a sound, a smell, or, yep, even your partner, it just stops dedicating so much energy to it. It adapts. It's trying to free up mental space. Here's how it actually plays out. Step 1, novelty. Your new partner is this exciting new thing, and your brain is firing on all cylinders. Then step 2, repetition. You're spending every day together, and your brain starts looking for shortcuts. And by step 3, adaptation is complete. The emotional intensity fades. Not because the love is gone, but because your brain has filed your partner away under familiar and safe. Just look at this comparison. It says it all. Early on, your brain is in this high-intensity, conscious focus mode. But over time, that shifts. It becomes subconscious. It's about comfort and familiarity. Your partner basically becomes a part of your reality, like the air you breathe. You don't consciously think about breathing, right? So here's the big takeaway from all this. Your partner's brain isn't rejecting you. It's optimizing. It's learned that you are a stable, non-threatening part of the environment, and that's actually a good thing. It allows their brain to redirect all that precious attention to things that are new or maybe dangerous. It's a survival mechanism deep down. But, and this is important, the source material points out a big risk here we have to acknowledge. Because the brain is wired to notice new things, this same adaptation effect can create this subconscious pull towards novelty. The brain might start seeking out that original high-intensity feeling somewhere else, not out of malice, but because of a biological drive. Now, that doesn't excuse any behavior, but it's a really important part of the science to be aware of. Okay, so knowing all this, how should we look at our relationships? Let's take this science and bring it back from the brain to the heart and figure out what it all really means for us. And this leads us to an incredibly freeing idea. That feeling of being unseen, it isn't necessarily a sign that your relationship is broken. It's actually a sign that your brains have successfully adapted to each other. So think of it like this. It's not a bug in your love story, it's a feature of your brain. And that leaves us with this one final, massive question. If that initial spark is just a biological reaction to something new, and the fading is just a natural brain process, then what is true, lasting love? Maybe it's not a feeling we chase. Maybe it's a choice we make. A conscious choice to see the person who has become our background music, and to deliberately and with intention turn the volume back up.